what's new with Max-Migold, I announced that we're having our graduation for the 2023 set of the FM Diploma. It's going to be a big deal. The date has been set for 16th of December, and the venue has been set for Lagos Traveling Ikeja. And we're looking forward to a massive celebration and a formal event. It is strictly by invitation. So if you are a graduate, qualify already with your program, you've done your projects, you're already invited. If you are an alumni of this great institution and have done the FM Diploma, you're invited. If you are seriously considering taking the FM Diploma, you're invited. Please register. We'll ask that you place the link for the registration for the graduation ceremony be posted on the chats as well. Dami, please take care of that on the chats as well as on all of our platforms. Okay, we want to have as many of you take advantage of the learning, the networking, the enlightenment that comes with our graduation. It's usually a big deal, and we look forward to it every year. For the FMMC 20, which is the batch starting in January, we have allowed graciously people who are able to start making payments now and hopefully complete their payment by November 30th to lock in the old price. So it's 350,000 for virtual instead of 500,000, which is going to be the price in January, and 450,000 for physical instead of 600,000, which is going to be the price from January. For all of you who are outside Nigeria, your price remains $650. We have not made any increments to the international price, so please take advantage of this opportunity. We've also, patented the FMMC Diploma. It's already a registered patent, and we are rolling out in a couple of months digital badges to all those who have it, so that anywhere you find them online, you will see their distinct, unique, digital badge on LinkedIn, on Facebook, anywhere they have their profile that you can click on and get into the database to verify their qualification, as well as the rigors they had to go through to earn the badge. Okay, and every graduate of the FMMC Diploma will use the FMD designation. That's the Facility Management Diploma after their name going forward. So we're looking forward to more exciting times. We're building a lot of value. We've seen a lot of progress and growth in the professional standing, in the career prospects of our graduates. And we just want to keep deepening this and growing the value of the FM Diploma. So if you are still sitting on the fence, not sure if this is your right career move, I would say, get out of the fence, get on board. Delay at this point is dangerous. Okay, so that being said, I would like to get straight into our discussion for today. As part of our asset management series, there are two more topics to wrap this up, and we're going to be taking one today and the next one next week. So today we are looking at facility condition assessment, and next week we'll be looking at financial management. You'll be getting some very important lessons, important learning on how assets are managed, from this facility management standpoint. All right, so I'm going to see if I can share my screen. One second, let me see what's wrong with the slide share. Aha, Windows, okay. All right, so I got that right now. So what's the facility condition assessment? For some professionals, they call this facility audit. So whether you call it facility condition assessment or you call it facility audit, it's the same thing. It is a process of inspecting each system in the building to understand its condition. And the key to this inspection is the search for identification and documentation of deficiencies or defects. If an asset is in good working condition or is brand new and fully functional, you will find less deficiencies to zero deficiencies or defects. Okay, so when you do facility condition assessments, that's the primary thing, whether it's functional deficiencies like it not being able to deliver on what it is intended to, or even cosmetic deficiencies like scratches, or other minor dents. In all, you are trying to find out what exactly is deficient or what defects you can find with that asset. With this information, you can extrapolate what we regard as the remaining useful life of the asset. How long more can I keep using this asset in this state? So if I have a power generator and I'm doing a facility condition assessment on it, or a building and doing facility condition assessment on it, by the time I finish identifying all of the deficiencies and defects, I can use that to estimate, how ready the equipment or asset will be in delivering to the mandate or the purpose for its installation. And once I do that, I know how long more I can use it in its current state. The other thing that comes out of this is what we call the facility condition index. This index is the metric for comparing facilities. It's the absolute measure of a facility's condition. And this, while I'll talk more about FCI next week, I just need you to understand that the more the defects, the more the the deficiencies I pick up, the less the condition of the assets, right? So I use this index, which is a ratio of the cost of fixing, is a financial indicator, the cost of fixing those defects. So I picked out all the defects And then I move on to quantify the cost of fixing those defects, right? And then I compare that to the cost of replacing the asset. It is that comparison that produces this index that we call the facility condition index. And it is the index that helps us to compare any kind of facility. I can compare, you know, a national stadium, for example, with a national mosque or national hospital. Or I can compare an ultra-modern mall with a rundown federal secretariat, right? Basically, what I'm trying to do is for every asset that I want to get to know its condition, I need to quantify. After carefully describing and cataloging all the efficiencies, I need to cost the what it would take to fix them and bring them back to functionality. And then I compared those costs with a cost of totally replacing them. That is repair plus upgrade divided by replace. And that's the formula for facility condition index. So that's an index. It can come out in percentage, can come out in decimal or in fraction. All right, so facility condition assessments, a multidisciplinary review of the various systems of a facility. So you take the entire facility and you bring in experts to review them, different areas. We'll talk about the process, we'll talk about the levels of facility condition assessment in a bit. But the bottom line is you're looking at reviewing the various systems of the facility. You want to provide recommendations regarding the root cause of deterioration or failure. You want to provide remedial action plans. You want to produce capital replacement plans. And you want to support operations and maintenance planning because the condition of an asset is what you use to determine how you can get value from it for operations purpose. So why do we conduct facility condition assessments? It helps us to document short-term financial needs. One of the outputs from the process is the remedial work that will need to be done, right? So we need to, put down what it's going to cost. If I'm picking out deficiencies and defects, it's not for me to go and dump them somewhere. I will have to make a plan to fix them, and that starts with, finding out how much it's going to cost to fix. Then competitive needs. Every organization needs to have that edge, right? And if you do gap analysis of how your organization is moving now and the facilities it's currently using to achieve its goal, where the organization is going to be in the next few years, and what facilities it will need to move in that direction, we need to have facility condition assessment done. And then long-term mandates, management, founders and visionaries of our businesses, they have visions, they have dreams, share those with us. And then there are certain, investments that need to come in over time. And much of those decisions will revolve around, should we expand, increase, renovate, upgrade, remodel, overhaul what we have? Should we get new ones? Should we acquire new assets completely, new buildings and sites? When you're making those kind of decisions, you need to know the condition of the assets you have already. And you also need to be able to conduct the same exercise on the assets you are looking at. Don't go buying properties that have already existed without doing facility condition assessment on them. Building stewardship, if the facility is leased or owned, as long as you are in charge of its maintenance, being able to have a grasp of its condition on an ongoing basis, and being able to use metrics like facility condition index on an ongoing basis gives you an edge, gives you control. It helps you stay in control of what you are managing. And then facility condition assessment also helps you to provide strategic alignment to the organization that you're serving. Everything we do in facility management, we create long-term plans, we create tactical plans, we create operational plans, and we execute them. They should all support the strategy of the organization that you serve. And when you do facility condition assessment, you can come up with a more robust, gap analysis that helps to justify future investment and other resources that are required to help the organization meet its need. Okay. So it starts with the asset register. We talked about the asset register in the first lesson of this series, the asset management series. And we said, okay, so that's where it starts from. You know what you have in your asset register. That's where you catalog all of the equipments, the components of the building, the spaces that you have and everything. And so that becomes the template on which you're going to carry out your facility condition assessment. And the things that are in your asset register will include everything from the site itself, the building environment. It will include everything that is the structure of the building, the structure, the building fabric and all of that, and also the systems that are built into the facility. So we're talking about the electrical, mechanical, plumbing, fire, and so on and so forth. Those things are built into the building. So you are looking at being able to review, to inspect, to review the data, to document, and come up with a detailed analysis of whatever defects those systems and building structures are having. What are the results? You get a better understanding of what's your portfolio, the condition of each facility. This is very important. This is very important when you are trying to forecast how much your cost is going to be for the subsequent periods. You need to know exactly how bad things are right now. Okay, and then it gives you a sense of how much value you can get from your assets because you've used the condition assessment you've done to estimate remaining useful life. Gives you visibility into the appropriate level of capital funding for each building and across the portfolio. So take a building, for example, short-term, medium-term, long-term, repair, replacement, improvement, upgrades, overhauls, and all that. You're easily able to create a spending pattern, a flow that helps management to take decisions on how to fund those improvements. Prioritize facilities, capital plans, and align with the organization's missions and goals. Identify deficiencies and estimate the cost to correct them. This helps to improve facility data. The accuracy of the data you have about your facility is, is doubled beyond the facility asset register, because there are some assets that might be in your asset register that, without knowing the condition, without carrying out the FCA, you might think that you have it, but you don't, because when it's time to use it, you can't use it. Okay, so it kind of completes that facility that tells you, oh, well, it's just there, or it's there and functioning, and we can use it. Okay, the problems with your facilities can easily be summarized, itemized, and summarized from your FCA. You could be dealing with sea salt and heavy corrosion. You could be dealing with underground water coming in with acidic contents that are causing more wear and tear. You could be dealing with desert storms of sand and the rest. You could be dealing with all kinds of situations that are affecting different components and different assets in your facilities differently. But being able to define, itemize, catalog those facilities problems, waterlogged areas have a different type of problem that affects assets quality and maintenance and longevity. Gather defensible data for justifying capital expenditures. Every time you make a proposal for an upgrade, for repainting, for overhaul, for replacement, for improvement, and all that, you need to be able to give not just sentimental, people don't like it, it's no longer doing well, it's breaking down often kind of business case. You need to be able to give information that not only, because if you identify the defects, you also need to get additional information. For example, mean time between failures to that point, survey the users to understand the level of disruption it is causing to their business or their activities, and so on and so forth. Very important to justify capital expenditure, because sometimes you want to do something and management don't think you need to, and sometimes it's because of capital allocation. They don't see how bad what you are describing is. When we get to the reporting side, you see how you can use your report again to drive home your points. Streamline facility management and improve facilities condition. The operations and maintenance activities that you do uses information from your facility condition assessment to decide the activities that need to be performed, their frequencies, what kind of quality measures should be put in place, what kind of precautions, what kind of risks should be considered, and so on and so forth. So it helps you to just provide the kind of information that makes you become a proactive facility manager who can plan effectively, who can prevent things from breaking down. I mean, I know it's already old. I don't need to allow it to start breaking down just to prove that it's already old and I need a replacement. Because it is already old, instead of doing a certain maintenance routine monthly, for example, I will bring that closer to twice a month, just to ensure that I can keep it running, because it doesn't add any additional credit or validity to me if my equipment are failing or breaking down. All I just need to do is keep tweaking and fine-tuning my frequencies, my schedules, my maintenance activities, the way I use the activity, scheduling how it's being used, and so on and so forth, so that I can use that to manage my equipment and ensure that I can get value from it in the meantime, while still trying to make a case for a replacement in the near future. Allow facility personnel to better plan, manage, and direct work, and then prioritize short-term planning issues. Because I now have the data on the condition, I know exactly what I'm dealing with. It's easy to plan and prioritize. We use the facility condition assessment to estimate and establish the current repair costs, right? Once I know the deficiency, I describe that defect with enough information. I investigate the cost of that deficiency, and then I estimate how much it's going to cost to fix. That cost is what goes into my budget. So even if it's going to be done in the next year or two, I'll probably just need to update what that cost is, depending on the economic factors that might be causing change in the cost that I've already estimated. But bottom line is, I need the data now of what it costs me to fix it, and I need to be able to extrapolate or forecast how long, over time rather, how much that cost will be, right? Understanding future deficiencies is just as important as calculating a building's current condition. Forecast costs by breaking down a building into its individual components, right? Both so short-term and long-term budgets can be created, developed from these sets of cost forecasts. And then the building data, the deficiencies, the best corrections that will go into them, life cycle analysis of the options to upgrade and improve them, all help to take decisions regarding maintenance. And then energy efficiency is also a big part of condition assessment. If you do your condition assessment and you're picking just physical defects, functional defects, you observe that certain defects are leading to energy loss. For example, defects of building fabric, allowing creating when spaces are created due to expansion or contraction of building materials that can allow escape of temperature, therefore making your spaces inefficient when it comes to the use of energy, right? And then there are so many more. There are so many issues that you would encounter in the course of the defects identification, like heating up and cooling down intermittently of electrical circuits, fuses, switches, and the rest, where energy is being lost in that process. There are so many kind of defects that you encounter in your buildings that fixing those defects will help reduce your energy consumption because of the losses you're seeing from those defects. All right, so get into the facility condition assessment proper now. You want to observe the sites, general site improvement and condition of all major building systems. You start by looking at building documentation. Some defects may not be physical. Some defects may be intangible, like not having certain information in place, not being in compliance with certain laws and regulations or building code items. Those things are things that you start with. You look at, do we have as built drawings? Does it represent, the facilities that we have here? Do we have building records? Do we have construction documents? That helps show how the building evolved through design to construction to where it is today. Building codes and their violations. Are there building codes that we're not complying with? And what are the maintenance records, historical maintenance records? I can be seeing something that looks fixed, looks functional, but not show me a clear defect that I can say, oh, this is a defect in this facility. But just by looking at the maintenance records, looking at mean time between failure data, looking at how often complaints have come from that asset over time, I can get a sense of what exactly is happening to that asset. So while the on-the-spot inspections, diagnostic testing, expert reviews and opinions will help us see what the facility is now and help us to how long more we can use it. We can also use the data of what's happened to it in the past to this point to add to that information. And this is the first aspect of facility condition assessment. We produce a detailed list of schedule of dilapidation, which is a description of all the defects, all the issues that we picked up, during the inspections, during the testing and checks. And then we now be going to costing. Costing is actually one of the most important aspects of the FCA process, because you need to be able to come out with a report that says this much problems, this is kind of solutions, and this is how much it's going to cost to arrive at that solution. Because everything you do must have an end in sight. You must know the end from the beginning. So we need to know how much it's going to cost to deal with it. So we should be able to create defensible, budget, defensible estimates that we can get management to approve. Because sometimes you really want to get everything up and running, but it has to make sense. It has to make business sense, right? It can't just be, because you feel like, upgrading and making everything speak and span. Organization should spend money on it. Sometimes it's not that straightforward. But then, if you have all of the data, if you have all of the cost data, because if I spend the money now, it's not as if the money is just going to go to waste. There are certain values that can establish as what I will get for that investment over time, right? So that's very important. And then if there are need to change or improve certain aspects of how the facility is used, tweak our maintenance program or anything else that can lead to improvement, the condition assessment, definitely this process helps us, makes it more obvious as we are documenting the deficiencies, working through the cost of fixing things. Okay, evaluate the effective age of the asset, estimate the remaining useful life, forecast future life cycle renewal of the assets as they reach the end of their useful service life, provide a benchmark of the current performance of the building. So in essence, you are gathering data that helps you establish the performance level of the facility you are managing. So you start by agreeing on the scope of the facility assessments, put together a team. Depending on the level of detail, how deep you want to go in the conditional assessments, you will decide what teams to put, whether generalist teams or specialist teams. Specialist teams will go in with more detail. They are more technical. Their reports are more engineering focused. They will bring out a lot of things, both useful and not useful. But your focus is to have that information. Your focus is to have that information that will help the facility to be improved or upgraded over time. So that's the first step. Agree on what the level, the scope, the boundaries of your facility condition assessments that you need to make. Okay, and then plan what needs to be planned with the team that you have in place. Collect the data. If you're doing inspections, you don't just look around and have information in your head. No, you need to have forms. The forms should already capture the assets and the spaces. That's why I say your asset register is your templates, right? So that's where you start from. So you're looking at it and you have identified certain things you want to check. So you create checklists attached to certain assets and you respond to each of those checklist items as you are doing the inspections. Okay, and then you document them in an outline report. You get back in, you evaluate. So if you have used cameras and other measuring devices to gather information, you go look at those information, you compile the data, you start doing market survey to gather information on costs. Sometimes may even involve vendors or contractors in the costing process, because you need to have some semblance of accuracy attached to the so that whatever you are trying to do should be valid, should be representative of what is current, what can be done. Should you have the means or the money to go and fix it? Yes, you should be able to, based on the data that you have. So this is the point where you are analyzing each defect, describing it, and then suggesting or recommending a fix, and then estimating the cost and even possibly the schedule and the priority of that particular one. You're doing it for item to item. All right. So after you're done with that, you now package it ready for a presentation or a submission. Communicating your findings could just be submitting a report to management about what you found with the facilities, with your recommendations, of course. Sometimes you have to come in to do a presentation, and then so because your facility condition assessment has series of suggestions and recommendations and cost implications, you need to get management buy-in before it can be implemented, because you need to get some kind of approval. So you need to be able to write a proper report that justifies your position. You need to be able to do a presentation that shows that you're confident about what you're doing. You're the one that gathered the information. You're the one that created the report. You are the one that is going to fix it, and you know what you're doing. Okay. To get it right, you need to have measuring device, depending on what you're looking at. If you are doing electrical audits. You have to have your clamp meter, you have to have your particle plant testing devices, you have to have your measure for measuring resistivity for armored cables, for example. You need to have your thermographic imager, for picking up temperature variations and temperature profile across assets, electrical assets. So you need to have all of this information, all these tools. If you are doing structural, assets condition assessment, you need to have the right, sonar equipment, infrared equipment, whatever equipment you will need to test for strength, test for resistance of from different surfaces, and be able to record the number. So for that level of specialized audits, you will need the experts who knows how to run those. So as facility manager, the level of condition assessment I can do would be more of the observation, functional testing, cosmetic, inspections to come up with what needs to be done. But if I want to go really deep, go into the more engineering aspect of each of the assets, I need to get the experts involved. Okay, engineering device, data capture device, and data sheets, and it's important to plan the data sheets well in advance, so you know exactly what you are going to look for. It's not when you're in the field, you're picking up things at random. You really can't work with such data if it's not structured. Cameras for capturing pictures, images, because if you do an inspection, no matter what you have written down, when you get back and you are reviewing those notes, if you didn't have pictures that you can scroll through and see, you may miss certain details in that information. So it's very important that you have your phone to take pictures. Of course, your protective gears is very important. Any other equipment deemed necessary by the experts. The data you are capturing, most of the data you will pick up is from your, physical survey, from your inspection, from your, look around, and from the taking of data and your own measurement and the rest. But then there is also the need to talk to the users. Talk to the user. There's so much information in the hands of the user that will give you indication of the condition of the facility that you don't overlook. Okay, interview them, carry out some surveys, and then look into data that already exists, performance data, facility performance data, like customer satisfaction survey that you already have in the system. You spend some time doing, statutory documentation, look at your as-built drawings, look at the permits and licenses that exist in the facility, look at records of maintenance, records of monetary transactions, records of defects, reactive work that has been done over time. You are doing all of this because you want to have as much information as possible. For facilities that you employ contractors to work in, they have a very deep knowledge of those assets or equipment. You interview them, you talk to them, right? Some testing can be, destructive as well, where you need to actually, do a sample test on one aspect to get more information. All these are part of what you need to do to gather the information you need for your facility condition assessment. All right, so some of the types of templates that you can use. These ones are available to students of the FMMC Diploma. You can use these to start off yourself into this very important aspect of facility management, and then develop more complex sheets from the work that you do, depending on the type of assets or facilities you're managing. So like I was saying, there are various levels of facility condition assessment. There's a drive-by assessment or top-down assessment, which is what a facility manager can do on his own and put down documentation. A high-level review that focuses primarily on the system level, with less detail applied to the condition of the individual assets or component. So I'm looking at my plumbing system, for example. I take a look at my overhead tank, not leaking. I look at piping as it runs down, check out the valves, they're working okay. I go through the piping that runs through the building, and I see that there are no leaks. I look at the equipment themselves, the toilets, faucets, and all the other showers and the rest, and I see that. So I can just do that kind of review and make my notes, right, of what's happening in that system. And then I can do a walkthrough assessment where I get into more detailed data gathering about the condition of the assets, or I can do a crawl through assessment, which is more rigorous assessment of the assets. This is where I need the experts. This crawl through one is where I need the experts. You know, everything will be checked, everything will be tested, everything will be documented, just like you do a comprehensive medical checkup when you whether you're ill or not, just basically trying to make sure things don't fall apart or fail in your space. All right, so for facility condition assessments, that's our discussion. You're trying to understand as much and get as much detail as possible about the condition of your assets. And you're trying to use that information to make all kinds of decisions. One of the most important decisions that your FCA will do for you is your budgeting decisions. What kind of maintenance activities you're going to plan for, what kind of costs you're going to plan for, what kind of capital upgrades and improvements you're going to put in place. So you're not doing anything in isolation. One final tip I want to leave with you is, if you do your facility condition assessments in your facility once, that document is not a document you prepare and go and file off. No. You turn it into a tracking document that tracks how you are fulfilling the repairs and upgrades and improvements and other overhauls and whatever you're doing regarding every of the line item you have picked. It becomes your tracking sheet. And every year, you come back and do this condition assessment again, refresh that whole document from scratch and document the status of things, picking up all that has won and torn from the last condition assessment. Now, between the year on an ongoing basis, that document that you've turned into a tracking sheet is what we call your deferred maintenance log. Everything you have done that has been closed out reduces that list to a shorter list. And then other things that did not pick up during the condition assessment project can come up during the year. Maybe rain fell and there was some windstorm and some roof sheets have come off, and you observe that, you pick that defect, you scope it, following the same procedure as you do in a facility condition assessment, and you add it to that document. It becomes your deferred maintenance log. So as you are sorting things out from your original FCA documents or FCA reports, you're adding new things to it. If that list gets longer and longer and longer and longer over the months into the year, your facility general condition is getting worse. As you fix things and reduce those line items, and it gets shorter and shorter, the overall condition of the facility begins to improve. And that's why that's how we can say you have a full grasp, full control of the facilities you're managing. If somebody comes to your facility and it spots something that needs to be done, it will not be lost on you, because you have picked it up. You've not only picked it up, you've documented everything from the description of the defect to its implication, solution to fix it, the cost of fixing it, the privatization level, and so on and so forth. You've done all that already. And it becomes a habit. It becomes a continuous process that you don't want to miss anytime. You always pick up defects, you always document them, and you always act on the ones you can. And something else that is added to the facility condition assessment document to make it a deferred maintenance log is that you always have a reason for deferral. Any job that cannot be done, there must be a reason. the job is too small to call the contractor for. Maybe just one tile came off a skirting, for example. They'll be need to commission a job for that. It's a defect, it's documented, the cost is known, but the work is too small to be packaged as a job to be contracted out, for example. So that's the reason. Could be for budgetary constraints. It's not budgeted for in this year. We didn't pick it up. No funds for it. We're going to put in the next year's budget. It could be because management does not want it done. There are sometimes it's aligned with strategy to allow a particular asset, to sweat it to the point where we're just taking from it because we intend to sell it or intend to dispose of it at some point without investing new funds into it. I need to understand that from management and work in tandem with that. So in essence, I'm documenting, continuing from where I stopped in an asset condition assessment, and I'm adding more defects as I pick them up. By the way, the FM's job is an inspector's job. You wake up every day and you spend more than half of your day going around to see things, using checklists to document, using cameras to snap, and organizing this information in such a way that you can track which one you have done, which one you have not done, and new ones that are coming in. All right, so that's our conversation on facility condition assessments. I would like to hear from you. And if you are on this call, you've not connected with me on LinkedIn, just find Paul Erubami on LinkedIn and connect with me. I'm an open networker, so you have access. I respond to hundreds of messages on LinkedIn and our official WhatsApp number daily. So if it has to do with facility management, if it has to do with your career decisions, if you need counseling and support, taking decisions about the important life decisions and career decisions, yes, please give me a buzz and I'll be there. If you ask questions, especially when the questions come through to the WhatsApp group or comes through to our official WhatsApp number, you'll definitely get an answer within 24 hours. And for those who don't have the number, it is 080-220-20122. 080-220-20122. Our official email is info@Max-Migold.com. Please visit promo.facilitymanagementcourses.com. In fact, that whole domain, facilitymanagementcourses.com, is owned by Max-Migold. You'll see all of our short courses. We have one scheduled for next week. Yes, the month of October. We have a 2-day course scheduled for the next week, Thursday and Friday, that will cover, health and safety, operations and maintenance, and many of the topics that we cover in the FM diploma as well. Okay. So, thank you so much. Do we have questions? I'm at the chat on the Teams. If you have questions, if there's any question on the any other platform, on our WhatsApp platform, on the Facebook, X, and LinkedIn, please pop them in for us. All right, so thank you so much for being with me here. I look forward to seeing you again next week, Thursday. Keep engaging, keep being productive. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.